Well, hello. Well, if you've seen the first two videos, you know I've been working on Keen Hauser from the game um, Don't Look Back. And tonight, I'm hoping to finish him up so I can move on to the next model that I want to get painting. Um, so we got his face and his glasses, his hair. He's still got his Walkman and his headphones and his skin overall. I want to get in and touch up the spokes of the wheel a little bit and put the black back in the background and do some wash on his jacket and his jeans and get those shoes painted up. Really shouldn't take that long to get done. So I've been using Army Painter's paint, most of them are the War Paint Fanatics. This one's Command Khaki. That's going to be for his shoes. So I'm going to go ahead and start right there. Start with his shoes. Tiny little drop will do. And before I forget, so Don't Look Back is a miniatures game um, where you play as different people from like the 80s type horror films in like the campground type scenario, and you got the horror villain that will come after you, and you just have to survive. No need in trying to defeat the bad guy, just survive. The scenario that we played here at my house, we were campers trying to uh, go from one end of the campsite to the road on the other end of the woods and escape without being killed by the bad guy. I'm just going to use a little bit of this Command Khaki, get here onto his shoes. I think my next model I'm going to do after Keen here is I'm going to switch over to a different plastic model game by the name of Necromunda. I play with a gang of ushers, and I got quite a few of them to finish up painting for my gang. My camera focusing here. Let them dry as I paint the other parts of him. And probably have to come back in with another coat of the shoe color. I have to run over to my hobby room, my husband's hobby room, to grab a wash for those shoes too. All right, now I'm going to move on and use Army Painter's War Paints Fur Brown, and that's going to be its hair color. And turn them into a brunette. Not a whole lot of hair on him. He's wearing this baseball cap that I made into a green color. He's got a little bit of it showing out from underneath his hat. I've got a little bit of the brown where I don't want to have it. So I'm just going to take a clean wet brush and just kind of dab it away in that spot. It's more his skin right there. Get it off his hat. And then by doing that, I've noticed I missed a little bit. Right up in here. There we go. Now we've got a brunette. Come back through again, probably with that as well. Just to touch it up a little bit after it dries a bit. Now I got a metallic that I want to use for the lenses of his glasses. No, I don't like putting the metallic straight on my wet palette because the flecks of the metal in the metallic paint can run into other parts of your wet palette. So I have here War Paint Fanatic by Army Painter once again. And this is the Mithril. And it's part of the metallic line. Let's get these two paintbrushes out of my way. And I'm just going to get a little bit of this paint. Right here into his lenses of his glasses. There I go. That's all they need. Just a little dot, because they are just really tiny glasses. All right, so there's that. Really tell where his glasses are now. All right, I think now I'm going to move right on into Tan Flush. Again, Army Painter War Paints. I have used other lines of paint, but these are honestly my favorite to use. The little squeeze bottles are nice because you can just get one little drop of the paint. Let me adjust my camera a little bit here. Oh, of course it wants to fall over. There we go. There we go. I think that's good. I'm going to start with his hand here. I'm only putting a very little bit of paint on my brush as I do his hand, so I don't want it to have too much in one spot. I'll move on to his other hand over here. And it's even a smaller area because he's holding onto the wheel of his wheelchair. Cool thing about Keen is the monsters, because of his special ability, don't paint a whole a lot of attention to him. I don't see him much of a threat because he's in a wheelchair. But he has a slow movement ability. He only moves like 4 inches at a time, whereas most of the others move about 5 inches. Of course, he can do a double movement that most people would call run, but that would be kind of insensitive to say that he's running. See how he's in a wheelchair? He's just rolling extra fast. But if he fails his jump scare roll, he can still fall over at his wheelchair and get a trip. So, and that's something these guys don't want to do. They don't want to be on the ground. Being on the ground is not helpful for anybody in the group. Trying to get his nose. His forehead. There we go. We got his skin on. Doesn't look the greatest at the moment. We'll fix that. Okay. Now I think we move on to the matte black from War Paints Fanatic. Again, it's an Army Painters line. A little drop of paint in my paint palette, my wet palette. And wish I could get this thing to focus better. And of course, it's going to be a little hard because of the metal paint is getting shined on by the light. But I'm just coming in here and touching up some spots that should have gotten metallicized. On the wheelchair. And I'm also going to use this black for the cords of his Walkman that he's carrying on him. I remember having a Walkman when I was a kid. I loved that thing. Got it as a birthday present from my dad. My dad had been out on the road as a cross-country tractor-trailer driver, and he came home right around my birthday. When I came home from school, there were balloons behind my grandfather's couch. I'd been staying with my grandfather while he was out on the road with my stepmom. And my dad says, "Hey, Kate, you see those balloons?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Don't you like them?" I'm like, "Yeah, they're nice." I wasn't at all impressed with the balloons. I was just trying to be nice. I've been told to be happy with whatever gift that I get growing up. So that's what I was doing. My dad says, "Well, why don't you go get them?" And in a kind of a huff, because I'm like, why is he making such a big deal out of stupid balloons? I mean, they're balloons. What's the big deal? So I went over and grabbed the balloons. And the bottom balloons were heavy, but the weights that they use to hold helium balloons down sometimes can be a little weighty. But when I pulled them all the way up out behind the couch, what was attached as the weight of these balloons? But my actual birthday present, my Walkman. I was so happy. I mean, it was a cassette player because there weren't CDs yet. But that was like a big deal for me. So yeah, disgruntled child getting a lesson essentially about don't judge a book by its cover because you never know. It's going to be on the inside. In my case, the inside was the bottom of those balloons. And it had the birthday present that I really wanted to get. And I was acting like an utter brat up until that point. But it was one of the best birthdays I can remember. Because it was a pretty awesome surprise to get something like that from my dad. So that'd be a lesson. My other big birthday present that actually, no, it wasn't birthday, it was Christmas. My dad got me a boombox for Christmas that same year. And that's a big deal because my birthday's in November, and I usually either got what the family would consider a big present for my birthday or a big present for Christmas because they were so close. I typically didn't get a big gift for both. So seeing how I got the Walkman at my birthday, I didn't expect anything too spectacular for Christmas, but that was okay because I had my Walkman. That was good. But then at Christmas, my dad had gone and found me a really nice boombox. It was one that you could detach the speakers. They could be hung up on the wall or put on two different ends of your dresser. I mean, the cords weren't really that long to put one on one side of your room and one on the other side, but they were long enough. So, there it is. So for the actual Walkman, I did the cords and the headphones themselves. If I can get this thing to focus. In black. Oh, looks like I got a little yellow still to get off of this one. See, camera works nicely for that. Let me see where I still missed something. A little bit of the orangey yellow here. There we go. So for the actual Walkman, I have Army Painter War Paints Fanatic Gray Castle. I remember my Walkman was like a grayish color. So that's where I got the color scheme for this. This is going to be kind of a grayish color down here for his Walkman. Now, up until the time I got my boombox, I had a little tape cassette player that I used to have set up right next to my alarm clock on my bedside table because it was a clock radio alarm clock. And my stepmother would buy me blank cassette tapes. And I would sit there on the side of my bed and listen to the radio with my one hand on the play button. They also had the red record button embedded into it. And I was able to record music right off of the radio. Those were some good times. So we go. Keen with his Walkman. Now I got some touch-ups to do here. I need a little bit of black. Come back down here onto the cord. Like that. Looks like I'm going to have to go get the color that I had used for his shirt because I got black and then gray onto his shirt. Quite a bit of black onto the shirt. So, yeah. Before I do that, I'll grab my dry palette again because now I'm going to do a wash on his shirt and his jeans. And washes are already very liquid, so they don't need to be on the wet palette, and they like to just like spread everywhere on the palette. So a little bit of wash. I'm going to do a shirt and his jeans with this. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show it to you. Where'd it go? Another Army Painter paint. It's Army Painter Quick Shade Blue Tone. Get some of that on my brush. And I'm going to just swipe it on. You can't even see what I'm doing. Shirt jacket. Not shirt, his jacket. And now on his pants. This blue tone works nicely on all different shades of blue. It helps bring out some of the details on the model that just regular paint might just miss. Helps give it some shadow. Kind of looks, because jeans have all these nice little ripples in them. There you go. It'll look real nice when he's dry. All right, I will be right back. I have to go grab the orange for his shirt and the green for his hat. Be right back. Okay, Google, stop. Hey, Google, turn on audio. Okay, Google, stop.
Okay, stopping Joey's nest. Sorry, something went wrong. When you're ready, give it another try.
All right, I will still be right back, having technical difficulties. All right, got the orange. And the green that I used for his shirt and his hat. Now the hat, I know I got the right one. The shirt might be slightly different than what I showed in the video, or in one of the other 2 videos that I posted, but it'll work just fine. I got Violent Vermilion, another War Paints Fanatics by Army Painter. No, it's not quite the color, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll make it work. Okay. Yeah, this isn't really orange at this point, but it's okay. Like I said, I will make it work. All right. This is proving to be a little more difficult than I had anticipated. It's just such a tiny little model. All right, let's touch up these shoes a little bit. There you go. Shoes don't look too bad. Looking pretty good there. I think I'm going to try and get in here on his face a little bit better. I'm not going to worry about his glasses so much right now. Try not to cover the metallic I put on there. But otherwise, I think I'm just going to try to get this facial paint on. A little bit of forehead up here. Might have to touch up his hair a little bit again. And let's see his face. Pretty good. Just got to get his glasses done. I think I'm going to wait, though, let that dry up a little bit. Work on his hands a little bit more. Real quick. Because I think what I need for his face, before I get going too much on his glasses, I think his face and his hands needs a little skin tone wash, which I'll have to go grab from our hobby room. Say a hand. There's his hands. I'm gonna go grab that skin wash real quick. All right. I got Flush Wash by Army Painter, Quick Shade. Grab my dry palette again. Which I use the Army Painter War Gamers Edition wet and dry palette combination. I like it because it's got the little dry palette wells that sit on top of the wet palette. You just take them apart as you need them. So now I'm going to take some of this wash, and I'm just going to drape it all over his face. I think that's going to help out a lot. And yeah, I'm going over his lenses too. I painted in metallic with this. And his hair. I go over all of his hair with it. Just though it's a skin wash, it's still like a brownish wash. So it helped bring out some of those details too in the hair. And how's he looking? Looks quite a bit better now. With the wash on his face. Trying to be careful not to have a pool anywhere on his face though. There. Yeah, I think that's much better. And then once that dries, I'll be able to do his glasses again, you know, with some more of the metallic in there. Put out of there. Put a little more metallic in there and do the rims of his glasses in black. I'm going to do a little bit of this wash on his hands as well. I think his hands look better too now. This one's got a little bit of pulling going on here. A little bit of pulling going on the top of his hand. If you don't have a lot of paint or water in your brush, you can shrink up some of it with your paintbrush. Yeah, there we go. That's looking good. Now for his hat. Now I do remember I use Olive Drab War Paints Fanatic. I did a Google search to see, you know, like what the baseball caps typically look like at that time frame. And came up with this actually. There's a lot of that green army type look. I could have done that on the wet palette. Oh well. I'll just make sure my paintbrush is nice and wet. Make sure my paint's not too thick. We'll come in here. Give his hat a little touch up. I had only done one layer during one of the previous videos. I believe it was the first video I did this one in. Did his hat on. And I just did that one layer then. One coat. I think this second coat will do it. I'll do it nicely. Now I do get a little bit on his hair. I'm just going to go in here and move that back up, green back up. And then there we go. I think his hat looks pretty well done. Now for his face. I think his face is pretty much the one thing I need to touch up a little bit. And with his glasses, I think his glasses actually, I think I got most of the paint out of the actual lenses. So I think I'm just going to try and get some black on those rims. And I think Mr. Keen here, or Mr. Hauser, it's Keen Hauser, so I guess his last name would be Hauser. So Mr. Hauser here, I think it's just about done at this point. I've got a little bit of touch up on this wheelchair that I missed the first time that we did it, went through it. Just a little bit right there. A little bit right there. I think that's good. Now the rims of his glasses. So we got a little bit of rim here. And then over here. A little bit here. That. And then he also has he has round frames. So this is going to be a little more interesting. Yeah, that looks bad. That looks really bad. So, what am I going to do here? Well, quite honestly, from a distance, it really doesn't look that bad. It's just because you guys are able to see it up close and personal because of the camera. Better than the naked eye can. I can get them to focus in here. That looks a little funky. But you gotta remember, he's itty bitty. He is a tiny little model. So right there, not the greatest showing. But I think that's what he's going to be. Because at my standpoint here, where I'm going to be playing with him on the table, he doesn't look that bad. So I will just have to get better at doing faces. That's all. So here's Mr. Hauser. Mr. Keen Hauser. Ready for tabletop. To try to run from the horror monster. Well, wheel away as fast as he can from a campsite. And again, this is from the game of Don't Look Back. He's one of the heroes, and I can't get it to focus. It is written by Matthew Burns and published by Black Site Studios. It can be played as a solo or cooperative tabletop game, and you get to create cinematic experience in a world of suspense and terror. The Core Heroes Expansion VHS offers players a way to expand on the core rulebook content with official miniatures, printed character cards, and printed item deck. And that is one thing that is really cool about this game, is the fact that it does have the pieces come in what looks like an old VHS tape, and this is really blurry. I'm going to have to work on my camera's focus because it's not doing what it's supposed to. But yeah, check out the game, check out the miniatures. And this next week, I'm going to start on some of my extra girls for the game Necromunda. Stay tuned, and I hope to see you at my next live stream. Bye.